My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Creed 3. And I'm actually a big fan of this franchise. The first Creed movie is my favorite out of all the Rocky/Creed movies. The second movie was really solid, and this movie is fine. So, overall, it is a good trilogy. This would be my least favorite though, but let's begin talking about the performances. First with Michael B. Jordan. The first half of this movie, he's fine, but the second half, he's great, and he really shows a lot of range. He brings a lot of depth to this character, and you can't help but root for him. You've also got Mila Davis Kent, who plays his daughter, and I thought she was really great as well. And the father-daughter relationship was my favorite aspect of this entire movie. It just had a sweetness to it that really got me invested. Tessa Thompson's also really great in this movie. She's just so charismatic and likable. You've got Wood Harris, who I think does a good job. You've got Felicia Rashad, who's fine. But then you've got Jonathan Majors. And this actor, everybody is just saying he's the next big thing. Everybody says he's amazing in this movie, in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And I just don't get the hype behind him. He's a fine actor. He's not bad in this movie. But there's nothing great about his performance. He's definitely got the physique for it, but that's as far as my praise goes. It's a very average performance. And people are wondering about this being the first movie in the Rocky franchise without Sylvester Stallone. And this might be another hot take, two hot takes back to back. But I don't really care. I love Sly. He's great in these movies. But I always saw Creed as the passing of the torch. And I'm okay if he's not in them moving forward. So it didn't really bother me. You do feel his absence maybe in the first half of this movie. But by the time the second half kicks in, I wasn't even thinking about him. And I do think you got yourself some really solid character work here. The story does have a level of depth and nuance to it. You feel the weight of mistakes that have been made in the past, and you feel the guilt that has come with that and that drives these characters. But the pacing is completely off. This is going to be a very weird comparison, but I can't help. It reminds me of Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. Hear me out, okay? Because that movie, it's like an hour and 20 minutes long, and the first 55 minutes is the build-up. The plot doesn't actually kick in until the 55-minute mark. So by the time it does kick in, it's over and done with just like that. And then the movie's over. And even though this movie is 2 hours, I feel like you've got yourself a similar issue here. Where it takes forever to get going, it takes forever to set everything up, and then by the time that the villain gains the upper hand, it feels over before you know it. I just thought that Damien's rise to power happened just like that, and then we're immediately in the last act. I just didn't feel the weight of it. And I think if Damien's rise to power happened after the first third, that would work much better pacing-wise. And also, how do I say this without giving anything away? At about the 2/3 mark, there's something emotional that happens. And it just feels like it's there for the sake of it. Like, hey, let's try to make the audience cry, so this happens. It didn't feel earned. I really didn't like that decision. I also thought the first half of this movie is terribly edited. There are so many moments well, someone will ask a question like, who's Damien? And the scene just ends there. Like, that's just it. I'm just like, why would they cut the scene right there? Like, and it happens, I think it happens 3 different times, and I was just confused by those choices every time. I don't know just what happens there. Michael B. Jordan is also the director of this movie, and I think he does some things incredibly well. Some things he still needs to work on, but it's still a promising first movie. The fight sequences are really great. Everybody's comparing them to anime. I don't watch anime, but they reminded me personally of the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movies. And that's a very good thing. When you're this far into a franchise, you have to kick it up a bit more stylistically to allow your movies to stand out. And I feel like this one did, especially with the last fight. There's going to be one moment that people like me will love and other people will absolutely despise. But I thought he was able to highlight how personal of a story this is. Visually, I found it to work. I found it to be tense. It also kind of reminded me of *Malignant*. I know that's another weird comparison, but you know the end of *Malignant* when they're in the main character's head and she locks up Gabriel and it's all just like foggy and all that. That's just where my mind went for this. I will say though, his directing's also lacking in times. I thought the training montage in this movie might actually be the worst one in all the Walkie movies. I just found it to be beyond underwhelming. Usually they pump you up and they go for an angle where Adonis is getting too old for this, and no, you don't buy into it at all. So yeah, so this movie is filled with positives and negatives, but at the end of the day, the positives do win. The performances, for the most part, are really good. You're able to root for the main character while highlighting some depth and nuance about him. The movie has some great stylistic choices, so it's flawed. The pacing is off. I wish the movie was edited better and a few other issues, but it's still a movie I definitely recommend. So I'm going to go ahead and give Creed 3 a 6 out of 10. Whenever people talk about the best franchises, I feel like nobody talks about the Walkie and Creed franchise, but it's time they maybe should. Like, I don't give a shit about Star Wars anymore. They're making some more Lord of the Rings, and I don't care. But this franchise has 9 movies, and at the very least, I think you can say that 7 of them are solid movies, and you can make an argument for 8. Like, 7 or 8 out of 9, like, that is such an impressive track record. Like, it's a very consistent franchise. So, yes, I do hope we get another one, honestly, because, yeah, they're still good. Keep them good, please. So, but have you seen Creed 3? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon. And Gavin, out.